Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you guys today about the 3.8 delay compensation, but it's not to doom post the compensation. In fact, it's to talk about unfortunate circumstance surrounding what I believe to be is a disaster waiting to happen. And I don't say that with vitriol or hate towards HoYoverse. Despite everybody's criticism or standings of HoYoverse, I think this situation, especially given what I recently covered with regards to China, Japan, and the Taiwan political climate, which is very rocky and shaky right now, and it's like fear mongering into Chinese game developers to the point where any Chinese developer that had a plan to release a Japanese influenced region, that plan just got sent to the trash. A lot of people aren't going to care about that situation. They're only going to care about what is presented once 4.0 arrives. Now, before I get into this, I want you guys to understand, first of all, 0.0 patches are the most significant and impactful patches for gacha games. The expectations of these patches being banger are abundantly high, always and usually unreasonably so. And so when you take in that context and you consider what's happening right now with HSR, it is very unfortunate. Now, there's a lot of people on the internet, I just made a video before this, where they're just like making shit up, right? Out of vitriol for me. It's okay. But one thing I pride myself on is being completely impartial. And this situation with HSR, it's genuinely like almost like a catch-22 for the devs to put out a shit patch. Allow me to explain why. The Express crew will issue Stellar Jade times 1,000 and Field times 10 to every Trailblazer who has unlocked the mail feature after the December 12th update. This is for 3.8. As such, we have extended the duration of version 3.8 in hopes to give Trailblazers a better experience in the next world. Planarcadia. This is a name that was changed. It was originally a different name, according to leakers who are right 9.999 times out of 10. And obviously, with the prior context, if you watch my last video, the reason the name change has occurred was once again due to the political rocky climate between China and Japan. They don't want to glorify Japan in this very shaky climate. That's pretty much what it's about. It's about control at the end of the day. What's unfortunate about this is that this places the Honkai Star Rail team in an impossible situation. The impossible situation being their plans were to put a Japanese themed region into the 4.0 update. What's important to establish here is how long do you think it takes for the devs to prepare a 0.0 update? How long do you think it took Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, or HSR to put out an entire new region with new themes, stories, characters, music, structural world building in terms of the pacing of it? It takes a very, very fucking long time for all of that. I'm gonna be honest with you. It does. Usually, they've already prepared this shit well in advance. I like to use this example here. When you're waiting on 3.0 to come out, the devs are already working on 4.0 and 5.0. These things take a lot of time because the amount of resources, preparation, employees to hire, concepts, multiple teams, there's a shit ton of things that go into producing you that patch. And even then, with all that time, you'll get the patch and you'll still see cracks. You'll still see flaws. You'll still see pacing issues, so on and so forth. Imagine what you're gonna see when your government essentially drops a fucking bomb in the developer's lap and says, get rid of all that shit, and you don't have any time to get it done. Right now, their developer team is fucking scrambling, bro. Any other time, you know I wouldn't throw HoYoverse the bone. And I'm gonna be honest with you, 2 weeks is not enough fucking time to unfix the disaster they have in their hands right now. I'm not telling you guys to have empathy for HoYoverse. This is the last fucking thing I'm telling you to do, right? Some of y'all might be thinking you get what you deserve, fuck them, like all that. And I don't blame you for that. Like I said, I'm an impartial creator. So I'm not really like giving this video to you guys to like pick one side or the other. It's just merely to provide the insight. And to the people who have the understanding, they'll have it. And to the people who don't care, well, they weren't gonna care regardless. That's kind of what I'm getting at. When we look at this picture right here, there's only one character I really care about. And it's this character right here on the left. But when we come back to this, wrong picture. This character right here is a Japanese character. Unequivocally, undeniably. the Japanese character. And what's cool about this is I have prior context with HoYoverse's prior games on this type of ordeal. I know exactly who that character is. The fucking 5 to 7 hours of gameplay time I spent on Honkai Impact III years ago when I gave it a chance, one of the main motivating factors of me playing that game was that character over there on the far right-hand side. And her name is a Japanese name. It's called Yae Sakura. And what she looks like is this right here. That's Yae Sakura. This is also a similar look, right? And you can see the Japanese design all over this fucking woman. Even the kitsune mask is rooted in Japanese culture as well. What's funny is I could easily concoct, theoretically so, what they were probably doing with this region. Because when you think about Genshin Impact and Inazuma, which was a Japanese region, guess who else was in that? Yae Miko. It's so fucking clear that what they were doing with 4.0 was heading in the direction of HSR's very own sci-fi version of their own Inazuma. I could see from a mile away that that is the direction they were headed with this new place. And they were going to obviously tie in their Honkai Impact III lore with Yae Sakura and all the Honkai Impact people and put that into a beautifully woven story for the HSR player base. We all know I'm not a fan of it, right? But for the HSR player base who received the back end of the 3.0 story relatively well, they were going to be looking forward to this big time. Think about this, guys. The CCP and the rocky climate between Taiwan, Japan, and China, and the disagreement that's happening, DeWay and HoYoverse has to pivot the entire structure of the world building, the story, and everything they were planning to do, which would effectively glorify Japanese culture, not like with any real intention other than they're just gaming devs cooking up content to target market audiences, right? And so like they have to change all of that now. They have to remove labels that were otherwise Japanese labels. They have to take away the theme that was probably going to glorify Japan, and they have to change all of this shit. Here's what I want you guys to take into consideration. Is a last minute theme swap impossible? 0.0 scale updates, new region characters, full story arc are scoped and pre-produced years in advance. Even leaker commentary acknowledges that a total scrap and rebuild of a Japanese inspired world in a matter of weeks is unrealistic. What is more plausible and already being discussed by leakers and Chinese posts is stripping or renaming explicit Japanese elements, names, symbols, flags, overt historical references, adjusting story text and voiceovers to dodge hot political signifiers, while keeping the broad map layout, quest flow, and encounter design intact. In a worst case, pushing that Edo-like world back and slotting in filler or side content while they retheme at the cost of a noticeable delay in a softer 4.0 than originally intended. So I feel like you can see what I'm getting at here. They essentially are going to keep the exact same world that was going to be Japanese themed, remove all of the labels, but they can't get rid of the canvas. There's not enough time for them to get rid of the canvas. And so what's going to happen collaterally so? What's going to be the collateral damage of this, chat? If there is a variable in the elements of gameplay for HSR, what variable do you think is going to take collateral damage? It's the story. Sarah said it too. Sarah said the story is gonna be fucking cooked, chat. It's gonna be a incoherent, broken puzzle pieced together mess. And this is a 0.0 update, chat. This ain't 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. This ain't 4.1. This is 4.0, the most highly anticipated of it. Xiao Ji, the guy that many people already criticized for yapping too much, now has a 30th of the time he originally had to make another story that isn't now Japanese based out of fear of the CCP. And you're still going to present Yae Sakura. They're still going to present like some of the characters, but it's just like, brother, that story, there's a very, very strong chance that the world building, the narrative, the pacing, it's going to be a big mess. Now, my haters going to say,
oh, he's just doom posting. Oh, that's smack. I thought he said he quit HSR. He doesn't have my approval to make another HSR video.
We're not talking about none of that. The public doesn't give a fuck about any of this political stuff. The public cares about what that patch is going to look like when all is said and done. And so the public doesn't have an impartial or fairness or like a reason to try and understand why things are happening. They're only going to understand what they've consumed. HSR has been on a downward fucking spiral in terms of relevancy, at least in the community, right? I think a game can still make a profit in China, but the community, especially on the global side, it's been on a downward fucking spiral. If that patch is dog shit, nobody's gonna care about why. And then they're gonna talk about how much money HoYoverse makes. And then they're gonna talk about how HoYoverse has unlimited resources. How did they put out this dog shit patch? That's why I told y'all it's a disaster waiting to happen, chat. The people who are trying to like say that I'm like the Satan of HSR, I'm the only guy trying to provide reasonable insight and prep people for somewhat of an empathy if the patch is ass. And this is the one time where it's an acceptable thing. They're giving out 1,000 Stellar Jades in field times 10 to every Trailblazer who's unlocked the mail. Chat, how many people do you think are gonna complain that this isn't enough and that HoYoverse fucked up and should be given more? But the funny thing is, chat, here's the objectivity on it. HoYoverse didn't fuck up. They've been put in an impossible position, bro. What do you want them to do? Like they're given, like the fuck up isn't even HoYo's fault. It's political things out of their control. Now, once again, you could say karma's a bitch. If you're on that side of the fence, I think that's completely fine. I think it's valid for you to have that mentality. But if you're also on the side of the fence where you just kind of look at things from a fair standpoint, from a neutral standpoint, it's a catch-22, bro. They're fucking cooked no matter how you look at it. This is still brutal from a production standpoint, but not impossible. If most of the work becomes localization rewrites, asset swaps, and light quest restructuring instead of remaking all level designs and system. And that's kind of what I was getting at, right? That was my thought process until I saw every arrow pointing in the direct. At this point, everybody knows the guy's the murderer, but there's not a literal tangible proof to like write him off. I don't need HoYo to come out and say it. It's so fucking obvious at this point. And HoYo's not gonna be like, CCP told us to change this, or we're scared that the CCP is gonna cook us. You know what I mean? It's like, brother, that's why I said I was ignorant. It's so fucking obvious when you look at all the clues. The clues are all pointing. It's not oh, well, we don't know for sure. It's a no, we all know. It's just nobody's saying it. The funniest thing about this is an entire community gaslit by speculation from a single leaker. Nah, man, but that's what I'm saying, brother. I pulled this up in my last video. This was my video. Like the mentality some of y'all have is literally my video right here, bro. It's fucking hilarious. But you know what's funny? This only proves I wasn't wrong in thinking on this first video. Check this out. Rising tensions between China and Japan are prompting new discussions within the gaming sector as publishers assess whether ongoing diplomatic strain could eventually affect the approval pipeline for foreign titles. This isn't just some leaker anymore, brother. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'll say it the same way I put the defense for me, I'll defend you. You're ignorant. The same way I was ignorant. You're not aware of how rocky this shit is actually getting over there in China and how it's affecting everything. Why? We don't fucking live in China, bro. This dispute has already expanded beyond mere political statements. It's not even a matter of like, we need more proof. And here's the thing, HoYoverse changing that the name of the region that was originally Japanese, and then we keep getting more evidence. This is the funny thing, chat. We keep getting more evidence. Dude, this is fucking insane. The fact that now we are seeing Yai Sakura as one of the characters, a Japanese fucking themed character. Chat, I understand delaying 4.0. Why would you delay your drip marketing? If this is not true, delay 4.0 because you need more time, sure. Why would you delay your drip marketing? This is like a scramble, man. It's a scramble to put pieces together. Now, there is a very small chance that this doesn't happen. And that small chance, I'm gonna be real, based off everything we know, chat, it's a 1 in a million chance. I think, and this is why I said 4.0 once again is a disaster. I think they're gonna have the 4.0 patch drop. The world is going to look the same as it was planned to look in terms of quality and polish. That's not going to drop at all. They don't have time to. But the contents of the story, the narrative, and the pacing are going to take a massive fucking hit because they are undoing in real time right now what took them a year to prep for not just 4.0, but the entire narrative of 4.0 leading into 5.0. That's what people aren't understanding. 4.0 to 5.0 had a whole entire plan already written out and completed. They have to undo that plan while sticking to a schedule. So 4.0 is gonna have some filler content. Some cracks are gonna show in terms of what the fuck the story is even cooking. And then while that's happening and people are consuming that, they're gonna be undoing the themes they had planned for 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and so on and so forth, and trying to, on the flip, get that shit remedied. The Elio script has been derailed. Exactly. Let's see. I actually would love to hear all the disagreements. It makes the most logical sense, but I'm pretty sure we're going to a whole different planet based on what they showed us. Let's be real here. It would be much of a difference in terms of the quality for the story, even if it didn't get delayed. I mean, we'll find out. You're blaming Hoyo because your ass spent money on game you didn't like. I don't like Woo a lot because wait. Hey, boys, when you're like throwing shots at another chatter, just tag the other chatter because it looks like you're like throwing a shot at me. Okay, so you brought up a very interesting perspective here, which is a whole nother talking point. That's why I want different perspectives. So Sarah is essentially saying they did in fact throw in a whole nother canvas for 4.0. So that's another possibility I haven't even talked about, chat. Let's say if that's it, right? Let's say that's it. I think that's a worse situation. Because that means they tried to cook up something completely fresh and new on the spot. Once again, what normally takes a year or multiple months, they just did in a span of 3 weeks. And they're using the mascot. Like these niggas are cooking some shit on the fly. I think it might even be more cooked, right? Am I crazy? I'll take the Hoyo Shields answers on this too. I'll take Hoyo Shields. Like literally whatever copious answer you guys want to have, I'm genuinely curious here. A worse 4.0 launch overall would be the rush one. That's what I mean. It could also be they pushed ahead content that was going to be filler to 4.0. 4.0 might be a filler planet, so filler patch. That's what I'm saying. I feel like now the new 4.0 patch might be something like 4.1. They either more cooked or it actually ends up working for them because they will have less time to add yapping to the story. Well, that's where I disagree, B-Wart, because you got to understand the expectations of the player base. They're already unreasonable. So if you're saying they're going to give less yap, first of all, their audience loves all that yap. They're going to be pissed. 4.0 will be a patch with the same quality as the original, but everyone will cope saying it was because it was rushed. Well, I feel like you're being disingenuous basically because of your relationship, which is a negative relationship with Hoyo. The disingenuous nature there of what you're saying is that the patch is just ass, not because of the political climate. But I mean, like, that's unfair to them. It's gonna be so terribly written and rushed too. See, you know, the funny thing is right now, I feel like you guys are just saying the truth, but in a Hoyo Shill's mind, that's going to be us doom posting when it's not even doom posting. I can't see how that's not going to be ass, bro. This may be a hot take, but what does it matter when the community swallows it up without many complaints anyway? Here's where, and I think that's a reasonable take, but Frel Singh, the community is swallowing up content they enjoy, right? HoYoverse knows their content and their community. You think they're swallowing up trash in your perspective and in mine, but they are swallowing up shit they enjoy. The thing is, this is gonna be the first time where they're gonna be swallowing some shit that Hoyo did not fully prepare. And that is the difference. Tension might die down, but if I were Hoyo, I'd never put Japanese inspo on my games ever again. You know what's funny? Due to the political climate, I'm inclined to agree. I think I would just leave that Japanese shit alone. Because if CCP is willing to do that type of petty shit, I would never put my game and business in a position where I have to be in this current position we're talking about. I would just be like, you know what? Fuck that. We ain't never doing this Japan shit again. Even if we would love to do that, it's just not worth the stress. Look, this is the thing. People were making an argument, chat, about, hey man, what about Wua? What about all these other places? Well, those other companies probably didn't fully commit to an Inazuma. They probably didn't fully commit to a whole Japanese region. You know what I'm saying? Hoyo fully committed to it, and now they're fucking biting themselves in the ass for it. So like, fully committing to it is like, oof. You know what I'm saying? It is really not our problem. No, of course not. It's content. It's content to talk about, and that's the whole nature of content, right? We can talk about how Wuthering Waves updates aren't my issue or relevance. It's content. It's something to talk about. It's a discussion to have amongst the Gacha community because I know it's an interesting topic to delve into. That's what happens when you're involved with the government directly. They can't get away with making content without the people of power in their country in mind. Well, brother, Jam Master, here's what I'll say, bro. If you're born into poverty, do you make fun of the person born into poverty? No, right? If you're born in China, if you're born into a country that has the CCP that governs that, you can't blame them for it, bro. What the fuck? It's not their fault. They're born into that shit. It's kind of unreasonable, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're like, yeah, bro, this is what happens when you put the government, the power's like, brother, they live there. They live there, man. What do you want them to do? Do you think this is going to cause characters like Rapper or Sparkle to never rerun again? I mean, I have no idea just how bad. Listen, brother, I'm no expert in this shit, but if they can ban Winnie the Pooh because bro got mad that Winnie the Pooh was how they were cooking him, I mean, bro, there's nothing I would say they can't do. I don't want to spend too much time on this topic. I think we've delved into it a lot. I went on a tangent too many times. I think at the end of the day, we can do the whole, we'll have to wait and see. But boys, I'm gonna be real, it's looking cooked. It is. It's looking cooked. And you know what's funny? I am probably one of the few people trying to throw a bone. Imagine what the rest of the internet is gonna do. Hoyo Shill's gonna be mad regardless of whatever the fuck I say, so fuck them. But hey, I genuinely hope the devs can remedy something that is at least gonna hold that down until, you know, they get out the content they can. But above all, I hope Japan and China, fuck it. The best outcome would be that Japan and China set aside their differences on this Taiwan shit, and that shit simmers down so that all game developers can get back to doing what they do. Make fucking games towards the targeted demographics, regardless of what I like from HSR or you don't like. Let them at least cook up what they think is going to be a good product for their target demographic. That's the best outcome. So we'll see what happens, but that's going to wrap up this one, boys.